Another good tip, just as the weather's starting to warm up, I'm going to be feeding a margin today. And normally through the colder months, a lot of anglers fish dead maggots. Now as the fish move into the margins, first times they're feeding, if they see dead maggots, I think they think it's safe. So I'm going to feed a few dead maggots, a little pinch in there, like that, and also a pinch of micros. Mix them up with my finger, and that gives me the choice then that I can put an expander on the hook, and I can put dead red maggot on the hook. So I've got two choices, and the fish come in, they've been seeing the dead maggots all through the colder period, and they'll tend to feel safe there feeding over that, and hopefully they'll get a munch from the pellets, which they love, and catch more fish. Just a tip, very simple, feed two baits, gives you two choices. Another good tip is never set up too many rigs. I've set up just 3 rigs here that will cover everything. I've got a rig for the far bank, I've got a rig for my margin, and I've got a rig for the deeper water, because you never know at what depths the fish will be feeding at, because sometimes they'll be in the shallow water, sometimes they'll be in the deeper water. So you want to cover everything, but as simple as possible without setting up too many rigs. Now sometimes you can get away with the far side rig for your margin rig because they're the same depth. But I never do that, I always set up 2 different rigs, because the margins, the fish are sometimes normally bigger, so you've got a different diameter main line to your hook length. So it's 2 rigs, one for the margin and one across, although they may be the same depth. And then I've got my deeper rig into the deeper water, because you just don't know what depth the fish will be feeding at. And until you start your session or the match, you want everything covered so you can just pick it up and have a look and try to see where the fish are. And also, if you start foul looking fish, then you know they're even shallow when you're fishing in the deep water, so then you may even catch shallow. But that's not until the water really warms up. Very simple tip is how to prepare your micro pellets, or these are the Hinders carp pellets 2.3mm. Never use them straight from the bag. Very simple. Pour into a can, 20 minutes before you start fishing. You can prepare them the night before. Just top the can up with water. Loosen them a little bit with your fingers and let the water go probably about ½ inch, as you can see there. I mean, I'm tilting it, but it's more, but it's ½ inch above the pellets. Then leave them to stand. Now here's one I prepared earlier. This has been standing for about 20 minutes. And as you can see, they've soaked all the water up, and I can loosen them with my hand, put them into another container, and they are very sticky, all soaked up, very soft. If you squeeze them together, you can make a paste out of them. But what I want to demonstrate is how simple they are to load into a pot, and with one little push, how they stay in there. I can put a few of these pellets in there, just touch them with my finger, and they'll stick in there. And then when I tap the pole and tap them, see, they'll fall out. If they were hard pellets, even if I've got a little cap on them, they bounce out because they're not sticking to the walls of the pot. Just by simply soaking them, these are all soaked up, and the fish find them lovely to eat because they're soft. In the pot, slight touch with your finger, and they don't fall out, so they don't bounce out when you're shipping the pole out. And when you get there, and when you hear these anglers tapping the poles, tapping it like that, and out they fall. Very simple, very effective. Another simple tip when making your rigs up at home, I always use 016. Now that gives me the choice then to put an 014 hook length, 012, 010, 08 if I wanted to, but normally 10, 12, 14. I could even put 016 to 016. But that gives me the choice of having loads of rigs made up in your box. Very effective, and it works as you're coming into these warmer months. The other thing, if you're fishing margins where there's bigger fish, I'd probably use an 020, and it gives me the choice, and I could use 014, 16, 018 and 020 as a hook length. Instead of having lots of rigs made up, it limits that time wasted making all different rigs, different diameter main lines to take the hook lengths. One simple diameter does all. Another good tip is I'm using a 4x12 float with a bulk, which some people think is quite heavy, but especially where we're coming into spring now and it's warming up, and I'm tapping a few pellets out, it's taking my bait straight down with the pellets. I'm lowering it in with them, and I'm getting an indication straight away and just lifting up and catching fish. Whereas if I had a rig strung out, they'd nick the pellet off the hook and I probably wouldn't see anything. But say if it got harder, I can still spread that bulk and have it falling through the water. But it's a little bulk, very close to the hook, 5 inches from the hook, 6 inches from the hook. I'm just tapping the pellets in and lowering it in with them. And the bite's instant. Reaching the spot where I'm fishing, I turn it round, tap my pellets out, lift my float up so I'm registering to the bulk with the float, lower it down, it's quite positive, look at the bite straight away. There we are, instant. Lowered the bulk down in amongst the pellets, straight under, a little lift and the fish is on. And with it strung out, although sometimes strung out if it's harder is the way to fish, I wouldn't have seen the bite that quick. It's an instant indication on the float fishing to a bulk. Another F1. Now I've got another fish on now. Very good tip is just take your time. I know we're coming out of the winter months now and it's warm and the fish are starting to feed, have a munch. But just take your time. Don't step up everything too quick. You can soon do that, but just take your time. Less haste. Make sure the fish you hook you get in. That's one of our hollow core 6 elastics. Now I'd step up after probably a couple of hours if I was really catching. But it's just a matter of taking your time and what you hook. Make sure you land. Don't get carried away, oh I've got to start piling loads of bait in and step everything up. Just take your time. The fish are only just starting to respond. It's very easy to get carried away and then you won't catch as much as if you took your time, still keeping everything scaled down a little bit. There we are, took my time with that one. It's in the net, let's get them unhooked and get her there nice and quickly and smoothly and get another one. Another lovely F1. Another simple little tip but very effective is when coming off a line, to change to have a look on another line, always top it up with a bit of bait. Now depending if it's winter or summer, or if it's fishing hard or it's fishing well, there's the amount of bait you top it up with. Now today we're just coming into spring and the fishing's a little bit better, so I'm coming off the far line and I'm going to top it up with quite a good few micro pellets, what I've been feeding. And then if I go on the other lines and I'm on there more than a half hour, I'll top it up again. It's just keeping those lines fed, so when you come off a line, you've got a line to go onto that you've been feeding. No good neglecting the line. And obviously the colder it is or harder it is, the less feed you top it up with.